There was a man in his early 60s who kept waking up at the exact same time every night, 3:12 a.m. Not 3 o'clock, not 4 o'clock, always around the same moment. At first, he ignored it. He would turn over, try to fall back asleep, but his mind was awake, clear, almost alert, and sometimes thoughts would begin to appear, random, uninvited, night after night. It kept happening until one morning, he asked himself a question he had never considered before. What if this isn't random? Because what he didn't realize was this. His body wasn't waking him up by accident. Waking up in the middle of the night is something I've seen in many patients over the years, especially after the age of 50. In fact, if you found yourself waking around 2 or 3 in the morning, you are certainly not alone. Many people begin to notice this pattern as they move into their 50s and 60s. Sometimes it happens once a night, sometimes more, and often there seems to be no clear reason. At first, it can feel frustrating. You go to bed expecting rest, but your sleep becomes interrupted. You wake up, look at the ceiling, and wonder why your body won't stay asleep. And like many people, your first instinct might be to force yourself back to sleep. But here's something important I often explain to my patients before retirement. The body rarely wakes without a reason, even if that reason isn't obvious. You see, sleep is not a fixed state. It is a cycle, a carefully timed rhythm guided by hormones, body temperature, and activity inside the brain. As we age, that rhythm changes. Sleep becomes lighter, more sensitive, not weaker, just more responsive. Small shifts in body temperature can cause brief awakenings. Changes in hormone levels, especially melatonin and cortisol, can influence when the body feels alert. Even mild physical discomfort can bring you out of deeper sleep. But there is another layer that many people overlook: the mind. During the day, your mind is busy. There are conversations, sounds, tasks to complete, things demanding your attention. But at night, everything becomes quiet. And in that quiet, the brain becomes more aware of what's happening inside. Thoughts that were pushed aside during the day may begin to surface, not because something is wrong, but because the mind finally has space. And once the brain shifts from deep rest to gentle awareness, it becomes easier to wake, not fully alert, but not fully asleep either. That in-between state is where many nighttime awakenings begin. And understanding this is often the first step towards sleeping better again. The man who kept waking at 3 a.m. decided to do something different. Not dramatic, not extreme, just thoughtful. Instead of fighting the wake-up, he chose to observe it. And throughout my years as a physician, this was often the first step I encouraged my patients to take. Observe instead of resist. Instead of forcing himself back to sleep, he began paying attention to what was truly happening in those quiet moments. He noticed something interesting. His body felt calm, not tense, not restless, not in pain, but his mind was active. Thoughts appeared quickly, sometimes about the past, old memories, conversations he replayed in his head. Other times, his thoughts were about the next day. Small tasks, appointments, things that weren't urgent, but still occupied space in his mind. Nothing serious, nothing dangerous, but enough to keep his brain engaged. So he made a small change. He stopped fighting the wake-up. Instead, he allowed himself to sit quietly for a few minutes. No phone, no bright lights, No television, just sitting in silence. With slow breathing. At first, it felt unfamiliar. Many people feel uncomfortable when sitting quietly with their thoughts. But after several nights, he noticed something surprising. When he didn't chase his thoughts, they passed more quickly. Like clouds drifting across the sky, they appeared, then faded without effort. His mind became calmer. His breathing slowed. And after a short time, sleep returned naturally. Not forced, not chased. Over the next few nights, he repeated the same routine. Sometimes it worked quickly. Sometimes it took longer. But gradually, the experience began to change. He still woke up sometimes. That didn't disappear immediately, but the frustration faded. And more importantly, he was able to return to sleep with less struggle. What he eventually realized was something simple, yet powerful. The real problem had not been waking up. It had been how he reacted to it. Waking during the night becomes more common as we grow older. That alone is not unusual. But what often makes it worse is the reaction that follows the waking. This is something I witnessed countless times throughout my medical career. A person wakes up and almost immediately reaches for the clock. 3:07 a.m. And in that moment, the mind begins calculating. How many hours of sleep have I already lost? How will I function tomorrow? Why does this keep happening to me? These thoughts may seem harmless, but they trigger stress. Even small stress activates the body. The heart beats faster. Muscles tighten slightly. Breathing becomes shallow. And the brain shifts into alert mode. Not because the body needed to wake, but because worry was introduced into the moment. This creates a powerful cycle. Wake up to worry to stay awake. Over time, this cycle becomes familiar, expected, almost automatic. And once the brain learns to expect difficulty at night, it becomes easier for that difficulty to repeat. There is also another factor that often hides beneath the surface. Daily stress. Not always dramatic stress. Sometimes quiet concerns. Family responsibilities. Financial worries. Health questions. Unfinished conversations. Even when these thoughts don't seem overwhelming during the day, they often return at night because nighttime is quiet. No distractions, no movement, just stillness. And in that stillness, unprocessed thoughts feel louder than they really are. But here is the key point I often reminded my patients. Waking up at night is not always the real problem. In many cases, it is a natural part of aging sleep patterns. The real issue is the reaction, because that reaction determines whether the body returns to rest or remains awake far longer than necessary. Handling nighttime awakenings requires a gentle approach. Not force, not frustration, but calm acceptance. This idea may feel unfamiliar at first. Most people believe they must force sleep to return. But sleep rarely responds well to pressure. When you wake up at night, the first step is to remain calm. Avoid reaching for the clock every few minutes. Repeatedly checking the time increases anxiety, and anxiety keeps the mind active. Instead, stay still for a moment. Allow your body to remain relaxed. Focus on your breathing. Slow, steady breaths send signals to your nervous system. Signals that say, you are safe, you are resting. If thoughts begin to appear, acknowledge them, but do not chase them. Do not analyze them. 3 in the morning is not the right time to solve life's problems. Let thoughts pass without holding on to them. like watching cars move along a distant road. If sleep does not return after several minutes, it may help to sit up briefly, use dim lighting, avoid bright screens. Bright light tells the brain it is morning, and that makes returning to sleep much harder. Keep your environment calm, quiet, predictable. Over time, responding the same way each time you wake teaches the brain that waking is not dangerous, not stressful, just temporary. And gradually, your body becomes more confident in returning to rest. The goal is not to eliminate waking completely, because occasional waking is normal after 50. The goal is to prevent waking from turning into anxiety. Waking up at night is not always a sign that something is wrong. In many cases, it is simply the body responding to natural changes that occur with age. Changes in hormones, changes in sleep depth, changes in how the brain moves between sleep cycles. The key is understanding these changes, not fearing them, because fear creates tension, and tension keeps the body alert. Over the years, I spoke with many people who believed their sleep was permanently damaged. They feared bedtime. They worried before their head even touched the pillow. But once they understood what was happening inside their bodies, something shifted. They became calmer, more patient, less reactive to nighttime waking. And that shift alone often improved their sleep more than medication ever did. The story of waking at 3 a.m. is one shared by many adults over 50. You may recognize yourself in that pattern. Waking, thinking, watching the clock, wondering what went wrong. But what this experience reveals is something important. Sleep is not rigid. It is flexible, responsive, influenced by both the body and the mind. When we learn to work with sleep instead of fighting against it, the experience changes. It becomes less stressful, less disruptive, more manageable. Because in the end, rest is not only about staying asleep all night. It is about how we respond when sleep is interrupted. And sometimes, the smallest shift in your reaction to waking at night is enough to guide your body back into rest.